Dear students, in continuation with our previous unit, Crime and Criminal Laws, today we'll be discussing about investigation in criminal cases, role of police, judicial control over abuse of power, and prison and juvenile system as a part of correction process in criminal justice system. Learning objectives. With this particular session, you'll be learning about what is the role of police in crime investigation, what is the judicial control over abuse of power by the police, and what is the correction system involved in treating the accused or a person who has committed crime. It can be with respect to a prison or it can be with respect to juvenile homes in criminal justice system. Learning outcome. With this particular session, or like once you're done with this session, you'll be able to understand what are the investigation process involved in the criminal cases and what is the role of police in crime investigation, overall judicial control or abuse of powers, and how this Indian judiciary system has a control over abuse of powers that's being done by the police. As we have discussed various aspects of police judicial control over powers that's been discussed in the previous session. Now, let first, even before we discuss about this particular process, let's talk about criminal justice process, how it goes. Community and crime prevention. Community is general public, and crime prevention is a main role in criminal justice process. First thing that comes whenever there is a crime, often police walks in between for the purpose of investigation. Then they will process the investigation procedures to courts, and then post sentencing. That is after various trials that occurs for each case, as we have discussed in our previous sessions. Then once the trials are done with respect to that particular crime that has been committed, and if accused has been proven guilty, in such cases correctional institution falls in. Correctional institution is nothing of bringing about change in people who has committed certain non-cognizable crimes. At the same time, if it is a cognizable crime based upon the intensity and the impact of crime that they have committed, they'll either be given an imprisonment for lifetime or they'll be even sentenced for death. But certain crimes which are non-cognizable, for such crimes, like we often go with correctional mechanism, which includes prison and juvenile. For adults, it's a prison home wherein they are tend to be rehabilitated or given a chance to evolve to be a good person. In juvenile, since below the age of 21, if they commit certain crime, they often tend to look into correction mechanism involved through psychological counseling, rehabilitation that is required for each accused who has been proven guilty in commission of certain crime. So this is a oral process which is involved in criminal justice system. Components of criminal justice system. First, even before we go with police and their abuse of powers and how courts correct their have the process to correct such misappropriate actions being taken by the police. First, let us understand what is criminal justice system and what is the role, what are the elements associated with it. Criminal justice system. It's a system of government which includes police, courts, and prisons. Police for reporting and investigating the matter, courts for trial and awarding or giving a punishment, which can be an imprisonment, or it can be a fine, or it can be a death penalty at times, as discussed, followed by whatever the police investigation took lead for court. Court will tend to give imprisonment for the person, and prisons are the correction mechanism which executes the court's order and to reform the offender. The only motive of this prisons or correctional mechanism is to reform the offender who has committed certain crime and to make him realize like whatever he has done is unlawful, and the court will give a chance for him to evolve and to correct himself as a part of criminal justice system. Now look into the overall like investigation process associated with criminal investigation. Here, first commission of crime. Once a commission of crime is there, that's when the criminal justice process or the criminal investigation process starts in. So once the crime has been committed, police will step into the system and then they'll start interviewing the witness, interviewing the suspect, or interviewing the accused. And further, based upon the interview leads that they have got, they'll start with the investigation process, followed by arrest of accused, and then a complaint that has to be read carefully and that has to be produced in the court of law. Later, once the investigation is complete, police will move the case or a criminal case to a judicial system wherein the prosecution and pre-trial services are being taken care of. So, whatever the investigation that's being made, police will file an FIR according to the charges for the commission of crime that's being made as per Indian Penal Code. So those charges will be filed in the court of law. So court will direct the concerned witness, concerned complainant, and the accused to step into the court or to appear into the court proceedings. Preliminary hearings will be taken care. Once the preliminary hearings are done, like based upon the findings that the court have got into through the investigation process done by the police, they'll decide whether to give a bail for an accused or they should retain him in the judicial or the police custody for the next hearing. So once this is done, like at the final part, post hearing from the both complainants advocate and the defendant's advocate, there will be a grand jury that will be organized just to ascertain like authenticity of crime that's been committed and what is the role of accused involved in it. So based upon that, the indictments were passed on. So once the indictments were passed on, then they look into the arrangement and the trial of court processions. Finally, the accused has to be proven guilty, wherein if he has committed crime, like he will plead guilty in front of the court. Post that, the conviction will be made. In case if the accused is not pleading guilty that he has not committed, or that the accused has is being telling that he has not committed any crime, then the key investigation findings, along with the evidence part, will be taken for consideration, and then post that, the accused will be put for conviction. So then comes the sentencing and sanction process. But in between this adjudication and the sentencing process, if the accused is not accepting his offense that's being committed, the scientific aspect of investigation falls in, wherein police takes helps of forensic department. So, based upon the nature of crime and based upon the modus operandi, that is the way the crime has been committed, do we often consider like what type of service has to be rendered from the forensic science department to prove that yes, the accused has committed crime and he's being involved in the commission of crime, for which the sentencing and the sanction process takes place. So, based upon these key investigation findings of police and a scientific approach given by the people, forensic people, the sentencing and the sanction takes place in the judiciary system. So once based upon whether the offense is being cognizable or non-cognizable, how impactful the crime is, the sentencing process will be taken place. So it can be an imprisonment, it can be a fine, or it can be a death penalty. So post this, the whatever the sentencing that's been given, that has to be executed. So that's when the correction mechanism or the prison or juvenile falls in. So that's when the probation or prison period will be taken care by the correction mechanism. So based upon the sentence imparted by the judiciary system, the same will be executed in the correction system. Police investigations and how the investigation starts. For example, if the crime has been committed, according to Section 13 of the Code of Criminal Procedure, there is an obligation on a person to provide information to the police, or it can be any citizen who sees certain incident or he is aware about the commission of crime, or is aware about the intention to commit crime, or when he is aware about any sudden death that has occurred, or when he sees any unnatural death or anonymous body that's been found, or when he sees any death by violence, or in case of any suspicious death, or if the body has been found without knowing like how he had been died. In such cases, for as per Section 13 of CPC, any person or a citizen can go report to the police regarding the offense that's being done. So, based upon this complaint or the initial intimation given by the uh, related person, police will actually takes up the investigation process. Now, this is where the investigation step starts in. So, first, with respect to the investigation part, section of CRPC, that is Code of Criminal Procedure, explains that investigation procedure and the sections associated with the investigation procedure are the law of sections of the law for a police officer can investigate according to crime and the case. What is the type of crime? What is the nature of case? Based upon that, police people can start investigating the crime. For example, Section 154 of CRPC often deals with commission, investigation of cognizable offense. And also an FIR rising with respect to this. Section 155 of 2 of CRPC, if any non-cognizable offense takes place, through the order of magistrate, a police can take charge for the investigation. Section 156 oblique 3 of CRPC, cognizable offense, if that takes place as per the order of magistrate, the police can start with the investigation process. Police officers has been given the power of investigation under Section 156 of Code of Criminal Procedure. For example, if any type of crime has been occurred, police people has a right to start investigation based upon whether it's being a cognizable crime or it's being a non-cognizable crime, and they need to intimate the court of law during the process of investigation so that they can update the key findings whatever that has been found during the investigation through the judiciary system, where the judiciary system will take into the consideration of whatever the things that's being done or the investigation process that's been followed. Based upon this, they will either convict or ends up the case in acquittal, and then send the related person who has been accused for the for the commission of crime for correctional mechanism to bring about or to trigger a change within a person. So this is when the investigation process is linked with the correctional process through judiciary system. It's a chain of loop like which often occurs continuously. Now, after talking about what else sections corresponding to the investigation of police for any type of crime, now let's talk about how police carry out the investigation process. First will be the initial contact. That is, whoever the person who witnesses certain crime, or if there is a complaint who has been being cheated or being or undergone certain loss due to an accused action. In such cases, initial complaint will be given to the police. So, based upon the initial complaint, police will start with the investigation process. So, during this investigation, there are various types associated with it. It can be an interview, or it can be an interrogation, or it can be an information gathering to through scientific process. So, post investigation, what are the key findings that's being leading to the case investigation? An arrest will be made, and the person who is involved in the crime will be taken into the police custody. Post police custody, he'll be taken into the charging of or finding of sections corresponding to each particular case accordingly. So, in such cases, whatever the offense that's been committed as per Indian Penal Code, police will file a charges according to the crime that has been committed, and various crimes has various sections corresponding to it, which we have been discussed in our Unit 1 of this crime and law enforcement class. So please go back and have a look into the various sections corresponding to various type of crimes, so that you can have an idea what charges will be filed for what type of crimes that's being committed. So, post the charging of files, preliminary investigation will be taken care of. So, once the charges has been made, so the person will be taken into the court of law for hearing or a trial process, during which post preliminary hearing, a judge will decide whether the person has to be, or an accused or a complaint has to be given with bail for the process of proving that he is not committed any crime. So, at certain cases, the bail will be rejected, thinking that a person can also eradicate the evidence which is against to him. So, based upon the situation and the type and manner of the crime and the accused, the bail or the detention process will be taken care of. Once this process is done, parallelly the investigation keeps happening, and in case if the accused is not pleading guilty that he has committed certain crime, in such cases based upon the investigation findings and based upon the scientific approach for the law enforcement and the expert witness given by forensic expert for the process of justice will be taken in consideration, and the judge or the judiciary system will sentence whatever the punishment that are supposed to be imposed or that are supposed to be disposed according to the findings given by the police and the law enforcement agencies together as a during the part of investigation. Based upon this, a person will be convicted or a person will be released. So in case if the person is not being proven guilty, like he will be released. In case if he has been proven guilty, in such cases the judiciary system sends the person or an accused who has committed crime into the correctional system, which is often prisons and juvenile homes. Based upon the age, whether a person has to be sent through prison or a person has to be sent to the juvenile process will be decided. So once that is done, so during this correction mechanism, which is basically focused on reforming the accused, uh, if the correction mechanism feels that the person has been reformed during the course of imprisonment, they'll release him, and post release, at least for 6 months to 1 year, the person will be tracked according to his initial connections, the way he behaves, the way he interacts with the normal social population, just to know that he has been reformed completely. So based upon this, the post-release activities takes place. So this is the overall police investigation process that is being associated with the criminal justice system. Now let's understand the difference between problem-oriented policing and other strategies. Problem-oriented policing is basically focused on specific recurring crime and the problems associated with it, and with an motive that or with an objective that they need to remove such causes, which often makes the specific or recurring crimes that often occurs on a periodic level. It can be certain types of serial killing crime, or it can be certain types of scams that are being often reported to them. In such cases, they focus on the problem first and they try to eradicate the problem so that they won't receive certain complaints on a further stage with respect to the same nature of crime. Community policing focus on public relations, organizational changes, problem solving. Here, police works in line with the citizens just to have a proactive prevention of crime and social disorder and increase the police confidence among the people or the society accordingly. Next, we have broken windows. Here, the deteriorating neighbor windows or the neighborhoods. The objective is to halt slide of neighborhood into serious crime. Here, basically, a person who has been committed crime, such person will be tracked with the help of neighborhood just to have an idea that whether the person is being committing crime or not. Then we have intelligence-led policing. Here, purely scientific approach is being carried out, wherein certain law enforcement agencies, detective agencies, forensic laboratories work in line with the police to prove that whatever the offense that's being committed will be taken care for the judiciary process, followed by the correctional mechanism accordingly. And finally, we have a COMSTAT process, wherein an acute short-term geographic crime will be patterns will be located by the police with an objective of reducing that particular crime in that particular hotspot area. So this is the overall difference between problem-oriented policing to that of other strategies associated with various types of policing methods that's being followed. So, having discussed about how police starts with the investigation process, various steps involved in the investigation, now let's talk about what is the judicial control or abuse of powers, which is being done by the police. So, here, Supreme Court often has a certain PCA where the authority is given powers of the civil court under the Code of Civil Procedure includes to summon a witness, compel appearance, perform inquiries, and compel registration as per FIR against errant officer or initiate departmental queries. So here PCA is nothing but a police complaints authority. It is a mechanism that was introduced In one of the case, as per Prakash Singh versus Union of India 45 judgment of Supreme Court in the year 2006, this was a case where they found that judicial control is required over the abuse of powers which is being done by the police authorities. So for that, this PCA has been formed. So as per this PCA Act, which clearly incorporates the recommendations of Supreme Court, PCA is essentially a body that can receive and hear complaints against officers of all ranks. It is to be established at the state and the district level. This is the recommendation given by the Supreme Court of India, and it's been already established with respect to both state and the union territories. The state level authority is supposed to look into an allegations of serious misconduct done by the officers of the rank of superintendent of police and above, while the district level is being taken care against all the police officers who has committed certain misconduct. Those things will be taken care by the deputy superintendent of police. So as per PCA. So National Human Rights Commission, that is NHRC, was established in the year October 12, 1993 under Protection of Human Rights Act in 1993. Under this act, the National Human Rights Commission or the Senior Citizen Human Rights Commission have the power to inquire the suo motu that's being filed or against or pertaining to human rights violations. These may intervene in any judicial proceedings or human rights, summon or seek attendance of witness, procure documents and evidence, visit prisons and detention centers, make recommendations to the government, because each person who has been accused with certain charges has to be given a chance to prove his innocence. At the same time, no police control has to be misused on any citizen of the country. So, for this purpose, PCA and NHRC are the bodies that's being established. So, here with an ideology that every death in police and judicial custody has to be reported to the NHRC, because during the process of investigation, certain police might take over the control and start misusing their powers, wherein during the investigation process, the steps that's being followed, which may also lead to the death of a person, which has to be reported to the Human Rights Commission, based upon which the Human Rights Commission will take up the case further for the correctional mechanism required for judicial abuse over powers. So, in commission, along with the various state commissions, has a power under 18 C of the Act to grant compensation in case of human rights violation by the police after an inquiry. This is the overall judicial controlling brief regarding certain misuse of powers or the misconduct followed by the police authorities. So here, various what all types of misconduct that may often encounter with respect to police authorities are being given with a theory called rotten apple theory, which is quite individualistic model of human failure. Here we have three elements which is being primarily focused on. It can be police misconduct, it can be police corruption, or it can be predatory policing, wherein misconduct is with respect to not doing their duties like as per the guidelines of the system that's being taken care. Police corruption, asking for bribe for doing their basic responsibilities required for the case. Predatory policing is like proactively engaging the predatory behavior, wherein extorting money from the public or from the criminals by providing protection and the service to them. So this is the individualistic theory. When you talk about group level, there are occupational socialization model of police culture failure, which leads to an organization level followed by an individual level, wherein misconduct done by one police will affect the entire police system and will make the public to lose trust over police. So this is the overall objective and the model how the theory has been discussed here. So if you see various types of crime and what type of misconduct which may often encounter from the police perspective is in the case of individual crime, police may start misconducting with respect to efficient police work. They even go for police corruption or negative reaction if the corruption has not been given. Or predatory policing, they act towards getting rights or insights to the property of the person. And in case of group crimes, professional police work, they do often think about personal gain, wherein they make use of accused or a group of accused or any organization who have done some crime. They'll get a monetary benefit from that particular person just to get the personal gain. So, in such way, and in case of organizational crime, the act cause medical treatment and also cause danger, and this where they get the personal gain throughout the investigation process by making use of loopholes that's been created, or by making use of the offense that's being done by certain organization or a group of set of peoples or an individual persons accordingly. So, what is the role of juvenile justice system in India? So, we all know that an young person or a juvenile is defined as Section 2 in the Young Offenders Act. As per a person 12 years or more, but less than 18 years, is often considered as juvenile. So, in the process of criminal justice system, wherein we have police, we have court, and the correction mechanism. In the correction mechanism, our juvenile justice system plays an important role, because people who are less than 18 years of age, often considered as juvenile, are believed to have not developed maturity, wherein they tend to commit crime out of rage or anger or certain situational cause, wherein the criminal justice system believes that these people has to be reformed at any cost. So in such cases, they'll be sent to juvenile home. So here, just before we talk about juvenile home and the correctional process involved in it, we need to talk about juvenile delinquency. It is any type of crime that is being, or causes that's being shown wherein a juvenile tends to be a potential offender. And if you think about various causes or reasons for a person who is less than 18 years old to commit crime, it can be a peer pressure, or it can be lack of parental guidance, or it can be certain psychiatric misbehavior or problem associated, or it can be media exposure, or it can be with respect to the insecurity of that particular individual or a juvenile. So, if you talk about various factors affecting juvenile delinquency, it's like lack of opportunity to education, availability of drugs, abuse of children, social environment, influence of siblings and friends, illiteracy, and unconsciousness due to dosage of drugs that's been included. So, these are social factors. And if you talk about economic factors, why often juveniles commit crime, it can be due to poverty, it can be due to unemployment, it can be due to natural disasters, or it can be due to industrialization and urbanization, wherein they get exposed to diverse set of people who often change their mind. Or there are other factors like family factors. It can be a broken family, lack of parentage, family conflict, neglect or cruelty by the parents towards children, and environment of the family that has been brought up, and also certain cultural factors like effect of foreign culture, social media, or certain foreign TV channels. It includes pornography and few other things which often tend to deviate a juvenile to perform certain offense. So juvenile delinquency, if we talk about major cause, it can be with respect to various causes. It can be a dropout of school, it can be destroying prospective career of children, it can be a family peace destruction, it can be an increase rate in criminality, it can be an increase in drug addiction or drug trafficking, eve teasing, and other petty criminal crimes, like which often tend to develop a person into a potential offender in terms of being in a juvenile age. Slow development of the country, unrest in the society, and destroying the culture and neighborhood will often tend to initiate the juvenile delinquency among the young people. So, having spoke about juvenile delinquency and the causes associated for them to be a potential offender, now let's talk about correction mechanism, which includes both prisons and the juvenile homes. So, prisons we have discussed earlier. It's been made. The Prisons Acts in 1894 is the only consolidated framework which is related to jail management and administration, and this operates across all parts of India, wherein Uh, Reason for having this is the prison and the juvenile home being a close commodity with respect to the correction mechanism, wherein these are basically built for getting an involvement in the potential offenders and to reform them to turn out to be a good citizens. And on the other hand, if a person is being committed a heinous crime, prisons are given to impose that imprisonment for life sentence or 7 years, and wherein they'll tend to feel guilty for the offense that they had been done, and it may also lead up to death penalty based upon the impact of offense that's being done by the offender. So prison management system often includes first data entry, that whenever a person was or the accused reports to the prison, the data entry has to be taken, which includes age, gender, crime, and his health record will be checked. At the same time, his visitor record will be taken care of, followed by who is the in charge staff for that particular prisoner, and what is a court's decision taken with respect to that particular prisoner. Is it a lifetime imprisonment, or is it certain years imprisonment, or is it a death penalty? Based upon that, the security with respect to an offender in a prison system will be taken forward. Then admission and release during the tenure of imprisonment, there should be tracking, like how the person is when he is in the prison. Is he getting reformed to be a good person, learning from the mistakes or from the crime that he has been committed? So when you talk about process, as we have discussed, criminal process starts with the complaint or the FIR that's been given, followed by investigation, then the charge sheet in the filed by the police, followed by initial hearing in the court. And if accused is proven guilty, then that's when the probation, parole, or commutation takes place with respect to the prison system. So that is with respect to this particular session. Uh, Thank you so much.